Hey everybody, how y'all doing tonight? Just coming in for a show. Um, I guess it's like a session with the judge. Since I guess tomorrow is Thanksgiving Day, but if you're living in 2020, it's a blessing to be alive right now. And if you woke, it's really a blessing to be alive. Just waiting for the judge to come in and you and let's get this show on the road. I'm pretty sure he's got a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. I mean, the day before Thanksgiving, we had a situation. Hey, how you doing, sir?
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, how's everything?
I'm getting a lot of static on this. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Um, got a
Yeah.
good
Okay.
question for you. I know it's I know me and you kind of like on the same
Can
coin.
you hear me all right?
I can hear you.
I
Can you
can't
hear me?
really hear you.
All right.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay, good. I know you don't get into the holiday traditions and all that, neither do I. So we're on the same boat there. But otherwise, I know you live in the life for 73 years, and you bring a lot of wisdom. So I said, might well have an emergency man up talk with the judge. So go ahead and tell the people how you doing tonight.
I'm doing all right, young man. No big deal, you know. One of
Um,
those one of those times.
well, in the era of so much censorship, we need to hear a voice like Judge Joe Brown.
It's becoming rather alarming. I've never really seen anything like this. I don't like the main fallout from this election that I've seen just in 2 weeks, and that's that the mainstream media and the providers, the platforms for social media have gotten emboldened, and they seem to have jumped on board with the Bush bunny.
You talking about Obama?
Yeah, the
Oh,
Obama tang. The Kenyan mulatto Bush bunny that has no connection with this country except for some technicalities. He has no black American ancestry, and basically, fool Negroes got pimped. You know, those zombies shambling along in the movies, brains, brains. Well, there's some more shambling zombies who I guess need some brains.
it's mighty funny you brought Obama up because he was on the Breakfast Club today.
I know I can't stand any of that.
But when he was asked by
The
Charlemagne the
idea
God,
that something like the Breakfast Club would be taken as speaking for or bringing out stuff for the black race is disgusting and disgraceful. You have a
well,
lesbian, a gay boy, and a bi boy. And I don't see anybody that represents straight black America, the norms. I call this norms now, normals. So, they're entitled to do what they do. They've been brilliantly operating politics, and they aren't enough to get in any place. But with the black bloc vote, they put them together. And of course, the Negroes, being former slaves and still thinking that way, they get nothing out of the deal. But the gay boys, who are the new masters, they got everything. So let's see. What do we have here?
I wanted to bring this up.
This is the thing we're seeing. The Bush Bunny was talking about this. Big tech needs to ramp up their authoritarian censorship and thought policing, or else our democracy will not work. See, this bastard doesn't get it. That's what's wrong here. This kumbaya fascism, this kumbaya Nazism in the name means of meaning well, authoritarian censorship and thought policing. I'll be damned if we need anybody policing our thoughts in the United States of America.
Well, that's right. But look, let's say something about him
And
though.
this ass is pushing this crap. That's a quote from him.
Well,
See, he's all used to. See, when this fool got adopted by Lolo Sotoro, Indonesia was an official communist country under the State Department's edicts. It was until he was about 10 years old. And maybe that's what he grew up dealing with, this kind of authoritarianism. But it's not what Americans are about: black, white, brown, red, yellow.
well, let me say something to you about him. As a matter of fact, come to think about it, so Charlemagne was very sheepish today and asked him.
Damn Charlemagne, little punk ass short boy trying to masquerade and take the name of a 7 foot 2 inch psychopathic giant who was a middle-aged maniac, a dark age, excuse me, height of the dark ages maniac back in the 9th century. This person is supposed to, by French records, have put to death 120, 125,000 people because they cremated their dead instead of burying them.
Okay.
That kind of authoritarian crap. A dictator, a tyrant, and he wants to name himself after that. Charlemagne the Great. Damn, fool. Don't you know what that stands for? That's like some fool Negro 200 years from now calling himself Adolf Hitler.
Well, let me say something. Let me say something right quick about this, because he asked Obama a question about what
I
do you
know, and Obama
what do you
didn't even
do for,
respond to it. He wanted to give this old kumbaya shit about everybody. And see, black folk have been here as long as anybody in this country. And we don't count because we give our votes away free. That's the only currency you have to buy into the club. And instead of being independent like every other ethnic group in this country's history has been, Negroes are owned by the Democratic Party, even though they started out being Republicans.
well, watch this now. But Obama didn't just blast black folks for voting for Trump this time. He actually took it to Latinos this time.
Oh, I know, and they don't
That,
give a shit about him anyway. See, he's an interloper. People need to get rid of something, and that's especially black folk. That's preconceptions. They think everybody black or dark is supposed to be of African origin or of African mind, but you can be Caucasian like Horizontal Harris. She's paper bag brown. Daddy's paper bag brown. Her mama is darker than that, but all of them are Caucasian because all Caucasians are not pale. And
okay.
I find it intriguing. I was just talking to a good friend of mine the other day. I was reminded of his wife. His wife is a Jamaican citizen, born in Jamaica. She's blonde haired, blue eyed, and her mom and dad were rather aristocratic English because Jamaica was once part of the British Empire and is part of the British Commonwealth. So they've got everybody that's a native, who may be native and born in Jamaica, who may be from Hong Kong, Singapore, India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, maybe from Ireland, maybe from Scotland, maybe from Australia, or right down into with New Zealand. So all of these people are part of the Commonwealth, and they interchange Canada too, and they go back and forth. As a matter of fact, she was Canada from kindergarten through 12th grade, and she decided she wanted a scholarship at Howard, and Howard University can be silly sometimes, and paper bag brown, oh wow, let's bring her in. But if you walk around Howard's campus, you see a lot of Indians, Hindu, you see a lot of Pakistani, and you see a lot of Afghanistani. And, you know, they got bamboozled, and I guess the AKAs are so happy that they have one of their members, but they weren't even the first. One of them about black Greek organizations, Alpha Phi Alpha, had a U.S. vice president and the Democratic Party candidate for president. He lost to Tricky Dick Nixon. That was Hubert Humphrey. He was made an alpha when he was an undergrad. So, yeah, he's bald headed white boy. No question about it. but that doesn't make you black because you were born in Jamaica, nor because you belong to a nominally black Greek organization. And the organizations have been bastardized anyway because they're just party creatures now, and they started off being an underground against segregation. They got made hard because that pledging was to test you to see if you would rat out your fellow conspirators by telling cousin, well, Sheriff Bubba Wilson or something. And they had 4 fraternities, 4 sororities. So, like any revolutionary organization, you could divide it up. Now they just think they're party animals going along with the original disguise. So it's not surprising. And I can say that because my mother was an AKA, and hell, I got made Alpha back in 1966, and my old man got made in 1946, 47 at
Okay.
Howard, by the way, Beta chapter, and I was born at Howard in Freedman's Hospital, so I can talk about them. I got a little stake in them.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question about this. Now, the fact that now, like I was telling a friend of mine today, see, when he made that statement about Latinos, see, the Latinos, he said they not worried about Trump's rhetoric. They're more worried about abortion and gay marriage.
Look. Why the fuck do we need to care about a jackass who is only camouflaged like one of us? He's not one of us. And we got to go be so happy we got a chick flick matinee star known as Bathhouse Barry as an undergrad, and everybody's got to be into that. See, that's crazy.
Well,
That's not
well,
an American black man. He has nothing in common with us. He has no black ancestors who had to deal with segregation, Jim Crow, Reconstruction, and slavery. Not damned one of them.
neither does Kamala Harris.
Certainly not. I didn't even put her in as a masquerade. I just said she's lying in front and all. See there, we had some Indians worked with my show, and one of them I thought was this beautiful sister because she's about your complexion. And she said, "You think I'm a black woman, don't you?" I said, "Well, you certainly look like one, and you're fine too." She says, "My mother was a Hindu Brahmin caste, and my father was the warrior caste, and we can't go back to India because they've got a death warrant out on both of my parents because my father took an oath to protect my mother, and they ran off and eloped and got married. So now they have a death warrant."
Well,
And she told me how she had utilized her black appearance to her advantage and then switched it off when it wasn't to the advantage. See, if you can just turn it on, turn it off, and say, I'm black today when it helps, and oh, hell no, I'm Hindu tomorrow when it doesn't help. That's not being the same as us. We're trapped into what we are.
well, it's mighty. Well, you have a good understanding of that, but unfortunately, a lot of us are looking at the skin
A lot of
color.
us are ignorant too. And like I said long ago, 50 years ago, 55 years ago, slavery was a choice because you could always die. And if you're too damn scared of dying that you can't act like a man and go deal with what you have to do, then you're already dead. They had a saying I was aware of. I think the first time I heard it, my old man told me this when I was 9 years old. He said, "A coward dies many deaths, a brave man dies only once."
Okay, now speaking of that, now I want to bring up something. This was a topic that me and a guy were talking about. I'm pretty sure you probably could give two damns about this, but the other day when I woke up on Monday morning, I realized that the NBA players had went over to meet with the Pope, and I'm sitting there saying like, "Wow, okay, why the NBA players want to meet with the Pope?" And I'm sitting there saying to talk about social justice issues now, right? Come on, and now I know what you gonna say about NBA players, but go ahead and speak your piece. But I know what you're gonna say.
2,000 some years ago, 2,040 some years ago, 2,060 some years ago, Mark Antony asked Julius Caesar, great Caesar, they have made you dictator for life. How do you think the Roman mob is going to take this? He said, Mark Antony, it doesn't make any difference. Give them bread and circuses, and they won't give a damn what we do. In other words, feed them and entertain them.
Okay.
Done pane excelsior. That's Latin for give them bread and circuses. And the circuses were the horse races, the gladiatorial contests, the boxing matches, the sporting events, and that was Rome. And it's interesting that the modern day sporting people, the gladiators, but they're safe, they don't die. The faux gladiators are meeting with Rome, i.e., the Pope. How interesting that we tie all that back up 2060 years after the great man, Julius, said what it was all about. Julius was went both ways, I suppose. But see, that just illustrates you don't have to be a punk just because you're gay. He was a real badass, great general, great fighter, great statesman, wise man, brave to a fault. But he said it. Give them bread and circuses. Donne pane excelsior.
So what you're saying now is that the basketball and football is the bread and circus. That's what you're trying to say.
Yeah, that's everybody. Man, I turn on the game, man. Turn on the game, man. Man, did you check out LeBron, man? It's just like these damn fools running around in the Roman mob while their betters were ruling them. They're more interested in what's going on in the Colosseum than they are in their lives. And you
So
see, the Romans had a bread dole. Romans didn't go necessarily buy their bread, they got given the bread. That's what it was all about. So here's this man talking about how to keep you in line, and you fall right into the trap 2060 years later, and you meeting with Rome.
well, let me say something
See,
about
by
that
the
bread.
way, Caesar was also Pontius Maximus. In other words, he was the supreme pontiff. That's what the Pope is.
Okay.
See, the pontiff for Rome was over all of the Roman religions. Every religion that didn't involve sacrifice was an official religion of Rome. So when they went crazy and they adopted Christianity as the official Roman position, that's when Rome started going down. It perpetrated ignorance, which cut off the scientific development of Rome. Rome would still be here if it hadn't been for the Catholic Church. They
Okay.
instituted ignorance and belief rather than reason and logic, and they became snobbishly exclusive. No other religions but this one, and they turned off a lot of people, which caused a lot of dissension. Rome was experimenting with electricity, but when the Catholic Church took over, they blocked that out as blasphemous. So Rome got cut out of the means of communication, and they were just a few years off of inventing a telegraph. And their economic model was modifying, but the Catholic Church cut that off, so they never did develop an economic model that would handle a population of roughly 180 million people, which is about the size of the United States in the 1940s. So it got waylaid, and now you've got the gladiators meeting with the pontiff. And that's where the pontiff came from, is when Christianity became the official religion of Rome, the pontiff became the pope, and that used to be Caesar.
Okay.
Oh, hail Caesar. So it's
Now
interesting.
I want to bring up a subject right here because I got to bring up this subject. You got a basketball player, James Harden, that actually came out and said that he didn't want to play for the team no more because the owner supported Donald Trump. Isn't that something?
How does basketball translate into wisdom? It doesn't. There are some wise basketball players. I know Magic Johnson, known him for 35 years. He's a wise man. Well, I've known his family about that long. I've known him about 30, somewhere around about there. In fact, his mother and I talk all the time.
Okay.
I think the last call I got from her was about 2 or 3 months ago. She and her homegirl, who is a good sister, well, the older sister of a good buddy of mine. So I know his family. He's wise. He's smart. He tells everybody he didn't live to play basketball. Basketball was a means of getting a college education and getting a stake that he could use for business. He's a great businessman. He's a billionaire. He and his wife, Cookie, well, his wife used to work out with my ex-wife. So they're good people.
Okay.
Now, he's wise. Magic Johnson introduced me to Michael Jordan, and through his mother's good friend, through her brother, who's a friend of mine, I met Shaq one time, way back when. They're impressive people. But you see, they're not foolish. Too many of our NBA stars are essentially hood rats. They have no college education. They have no sophistication. Uh, they don't know how the world works. They're mama's boys. They didn't have a daddy around, and it's not surprising.
What question? Because that what you're saying basically is the reason why LeBron James can say, "Oh, black men are scared and need to be
He
protected."
speaks for himself. I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not.
yeah,
Speaks
but he
for
about
himself.
200 pounds,
What is
man.
he? 7 feet tall or something?
6'9",
I'm 5 feet
260.
10, something like that. Hell, I've that doesn't make any difference. You know who the most decorated soldier in the United States Army's history is?
Give me.
He became a movie star. His name is Audie Murphy.
Okay.
Audie Murphy was 5 feet 4 inches tall, and that was one badass man. He played in a lot of westerns and died in a car wreck, and they did not mess with him on the set because his war record reflected his real character. That man was a real live, let's put it this way, he was a homicidal maniac, they would call him, but he let it all out in the war, but it was still in him. He was killer, stone cold killer.
Okay. Now I gotta want to bring up something
He got
because
Congressional Medal of Honor. They counted bodies on the field. He held off a whole German regiment, 150 dead bodies on the field that he shot up. See, you
okay.
don't mess with somebody like that. But 5 foot 4 inch tall Audie Murphy, a white boy coming from the hill country, he wouldn't have said he's scared. I don't. But
Okay,
our
let me
role models that they put up for young brothers, he says he's scared. Well, we ought to be scared. I don't buy that. What the hell's wrong with him? Man up, be brave.
okay, now I'm gonna bring up some subjects here because
Yeah,
I
he may have been brave, and he maybe not. He might not. That might not have been him. See, when you're in a position like that, you have all these PR people come shoving stuff under your nose that they want you to say. A lot of it's scripted. They tried that with me. I just say, go to hell. I'm not going to do it. The only thing I'd speak out for was Second Amendment stuff, standing up and man up. I wouldn't do all that other garbage they wanted me to do. It's go to hell. I'm not doing it. But you got to, I said, I don't got to do a goddamn thing. I can walk out of here. I quit that Judge Joe Brown thing 7, 8, 9 times over the years. And they kept, oh, well, you know, I just don't run that shit up under me. So I'm a man. And my
well,
manhood is more important than any other damn thing to me.
well, it's mighty funny, and I know you heard of Jeremiah Wright before, right? But I just want to bring
Jeremiah Wright, is he that judge that wrote Black Robes, White Justice
no.
on?
Jeremiah Wright is the pastor that Obama threw under the bus.
Oh. Yeah, Bush Bunny threw him under the cart. They had him go to Reverend Wright's church so he could learn to speak preachy. You know he does that well now, unless you get one on one, and when it's not a prepared text, He stumbles, fumbles, and stutters a lot.
Well, he mentioned Jeremiah Wright on the Breakfast Club today, and he basically kind of was letting you know that he had to kind of rank him out.
Punk, typical punk move. Man was a punk. Had no balls. He could have even fronted off by saying, screw you, they elected me because they think I'm one of them. Well, I'm going to give them a few bones. He did nothing. He had the opportunity to appoint 3 Supreme Court justices. Did he nominate anybody black? Hell no. He had nominated the last one, didn't get in, was a conservative Republican who had a long history of racism. And as a judge on the Second Circuit, he was always one against the other 2. Anytime somebody black came up there talking about prisoners' rights on a 3-member panel, it would be 2-1, and he would always be the one against. His firm used to represent Goldman Sachs, and the other 2 females who had nothing to do with black folk, their firms that they were with worked for Goldman Sachs, So what the hell did we get from it? Judicial appointments? Some bitch didn't appoint anybody hardly for black judgeships. Very few. They had one Negro here in Memphis who was U.S. attorney. He held off on prosecuting a whole lot of wrongdoing because a Republican senator, Lamar Alexander, who had previously been a Republican candidate for president, promised him a judicial appointment if he kept his nose out of everybody's business. And he didn't do a damn thing. Trump got elected, and 2 weeks after he got sworn in, they yanked this boy's name. His name is Stanton, Ed Stanton III. And they yanked his name, and they told him they couldn't get it through. So for 5 damn years, he stalled out waiting on a promise. And as soon as Obama Tang was out of office, they snatched his name and put in a white guy, and he got approved in 2 weeks. See, always Negroes running around trying to cut a deal instead of doing right. Do the right thing, damn it, and it'll pay you off big time, even if you have to wait. See, this happens all over this damn country. We can do what we need to do if we have the will to do it. See, one of the secrets of enslavement was to get slavery incorporated as part of the black culture. So the slave mothers taught their slave sons how to be slaves. The master didn't even have to work at it because his mama taught him to be a slave. And now they're running around trying to make black women the spokespersons for black achievement. And that's just part of that whole scheme of enslavement. You see, women are beautiful. I'll die protecting them. No question. Think it is a privilege to be able to do that. Women and children in a damn lifeboat first. But the status of a people is determined by the status of its men. It is an inherent thing about humanity. I don't care what these ignorant feminists want to say. The truth is, if a people's men aren't adequate, the conquerors slay the men and rape the women. They take the pussy. And they either sell what's left over into slavery, or what they do is in 3 generations, the descendants become part of the conquering race. And the status of the people is not determined by the women because they can't keep from getting raped by the conquerors. Only their men can. And when their men are defeated, everything goes to hell. That's the way of the world. It always has been, always will be. Most recently, try talking to some people from, say, the Czech Republic or Hungary who were there when the Nazis swept through in World War II and how much nookie got snatched from them. Talk to the same women who 4 or 5 years later, when the Russian hordes came through, the Mongols along with the rest of the Soviets, and how much Nookie got snatched.
Okay.
You talk to them about women making the people. They don't buy that because they've had recent experiences that their grandmothers and great grandmothers have told them about personally.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know
the
what happened, man.
status
There
of
you
the
go.
people is determined by the status of the man. And what they did with black people, your status as a slave was determined by your mother's status, not our fathers. They have been doing that for ages, and we still fall into the trap. We are the only people on the whole damn planet that's got an active matriarchy. The white feminists are trying to turn a whole damn country into that, and it doesn't work because it causes violence. Violence in the hood, in the hallways. And we've got that. These unmasculine boys who do not have any manhood in them are going berserk, and that beastly predator that's in their heads has been lurking in there. It doesn't go away. That's why we have to protect the animals, because we kill everything better than anything else that's been on this planet. We kill each other too. Lions and tigers kill each other. Leopards kill each other. Panthers kill each other. Jaguars kill each other. Chimpanzees go and hunt down their enemies, other chimps, and they have pack wars with chimpanzees. The baboons do it. Hell, the gorillas do it. We are primates, and we have the same characteristic. And some namby-pamby-poo, kumbaya asshole is not going to change the nature of man just because he or she wants it.
Well, let me ask you a question, because a lot of people don't understand about recently what's been going on in the election, and you're a former judge. You can break this thing down better than a lot of people.
What it is the Article 2, Section 1.2 and the 12th Amendment detail what goes on with the Electoral College. Breaking it all the way down, the state legislative bodies get to determine who and what constitutes a valid elector. They determine the qualifications, they make the selection, and they have to have the certification. There's some state legislatures now that are refusing to certify the people that the Biden camp is counting on to deliver the election to them. If they don't get certified by a certain point, then what happens is those electors who have been certified show up in December in DC. They cast votes for the president. Right now, the committed electors who are certified, it's still a majority of them are for Trump, not for Biden.
That's right.
So
And then
it's
that was
interesting.
going into the House
And
of
what
Representatives.
they're having is, okay, let me break this down too, mathematically. If every single registered voter voted, that would be a 100% turnout. They have never in this country had a 100% turnout. All right? Now, some of these states that went for Biden are showing 103% turnout, 106% turnout, 112% turnout. In other words, more votes have been turned in than there are people eligible to cast them.
That's right.
So that's mathematically an indication that there's fraud. So some of these state legislatures, they're doing something I think is smart. They are having each person who is a sponsor of some action being taken bring in a number of people who will attest under oath to election fraud that they have discerned, observed, detected, or whatever. And at that point, they will have a resolution saying we cannot certify this vote count. So they're either going to do it all over again or they're going to throw out these suspect votes. And see, one of the main problems, and Trump told everybody about it, it's going to be a mess with these mail-in ballots where the ballots are not solicited. It's one thing if you say, I want to vote absentee and I want a ballot and this is my name, this is where I live, and la-di-da-di-da, these are my reasons. So, okay, that's one thing. You match up, we have on file, this ballot was solicited, This is the return from the person that got it. But the way they're doing it now, where they can mail out these ballots without anybody asking for them, that allows them to simply print up a few extra. And the few extra come in, and you don't have a computer hookup to be able to sort through all of this stuff and say, this goes here, this goes there. Whoops, no, we have one that was sent here, 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 and here. And it turns out these are the same people. This guy just has all these addresses. See, like, for example, at one point I had 4 different states, I guess, or 5 different houses I could have gotten a ballot sent to, and I could have voted 5 times. That would be 10 years ago, because I own 5 houses in different locations. And by the way, on the census, I got contacted by the Census Bureau at each one of these houses, and I had to go through changes saying, I know what you want, but I've already been counted. Here's where I got counted. So they had to go through great changes accounting for that. But anyway, right now, I could have voted 5 times. Or somebody could have printed up 15, 20 different ballots and sent them in saying they came from me. And there's no way to check it. So anytime you got 103% of the vote, of the 103% of the eligible voters are supposed to have voted, that's bogus. So that's not good for anybody. And a good American would realize that once you set that precedent, it can be switched around and go another way, which is not good.
Yeah, that's very interesting, because I told you like 150,000 ballots were called into question in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. The judge won't certify. So when you don't have all them certifications, you throw in the House of Representatives. You got 31 Republican states. That would just basically be like a wash.
And then see the other thing too, you sent me a link and I looked at the link, closed it down, and I said, wait a minute, let me reference that thing. And I opened it back up and I was looking at it, and it went down, went blank, and then it came back up. This article is no longer available. See, that's censorship. Several articles that are cited I found in BBC that were at one time available in the American press are no longer available in the American press. And if you get the French, English language news from various sources, you'll see there are a lot of things that you cannot find readily in the American press because they're being censored. As the Bush Bunny said, big tech needs to ramp up their authoritarian censorship and thought policing. And that's what they're doing, thought policing. Now, I call him Bush Bunny, by the way, because his exit portrait and his wife I found was very symbolic. She has a portrait in a white quilt dress that looks awful. It looks like she was a house slave, and Missy, who was the plantation owner's wife, gave her some spare material, and she proudly made a quilt dress to wear when she goes to the big house. And the Bush Bunny, he's sitting in front of a green bush in a straight back chair, looking like he's doing one of those allergy commercials where the guy busts through these hedges. So I said, boy, the bush. And then the connection with the bushes, he was their little pet Indo-African cousin. He's related to him, Bush Bunny. There's all kinds of things in there, double entendre. But I call him the Bush Bunny, mulatto Bush Bunny, who was a chick flick matinee star, and black folk were looking at him like, oh my God, let's go check him out. I love him. Oh, I love him. Like, what in the hell did he do for you? You're not supposed to like the president. He's supposed to be a good executive, even if you hate his guts. It's like being in the army and your ass is getting shot at. You need somebody that's a chess master that can keep you from being blown away unnecessarily. You may hate the guy's guts, but if he keeps you alive, you don't hate him too much anymore. Say he's a good general. He's a good general. I don't know. He didn't do a damn thing for us. Obamacare, he didn't draft that. That was Republican Senate Majority Leader Dr. Bill Frist in Nashville, Tennessee. His family founded Blue Cross Blue Shield. Now the Obama tangs, trust fund seems to be a big investor, so I guess maybe he pushed that so he can make some more money, or at least his trust fund did. It's an Indonesian trust fund. It's not subject to American law.
You know what? It's mighty funny, Judge, that Trump pardoned Michael Flynn today, and everybody, some people had a problem with that. But Obama pardoned all them guys from BP, banks.
Oh yeah. See, his trust fund is a big investor in British Petroleum. Everybody was asking, why are you keeping all these other oil companies from getting involved in the cleanup in the Gulf? See, BP is not an American corporation. It's British. So you got a foreign corporation messing up our waters. And then 23 of their executives got indicted and Obama Tang pardoned them. What's your excuse? What is your interest in pardoning these scoundrels who screwed up this mass series of this mass coastline of the United States? Why are you protecting them, you charlatan? Because you have investments. And they're your friends through the bushes. They did a great deal of business, BP, with Zapata Offshore Oil, Inc. And that was the Bush family holding company, chartered in Kuwait. By the way, is there any connection between the fact that when Saddam Hussein naturalized everything in Kuwait in 1990, that the Bush family was effectively destitute? Did that have anything to do with that invasion and the fact that Halliburton, in which the Obama Tanks Trust Fund has high investments, did that have anything to do with what's been going on in the Middle East? Because Halliburton was interested, and Halliburton was chartered by George Herbert Walker, that's Uncle Herbie to the Bushes, in 1946 in Oklahoma. What does that have to do with anything? Anything? No, maybe nothing, but sure looks incriminating. Like the Jamaicans say, hey man, you act like you got guilty knowledge by the things you say and do, man.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's pretty good, Judge. That you but yeah, like Goldman Sachs, and you were talking about these Goldman Sachs people, right?
3 nominees to the U.S. Supreme Court, 2 of whom were confirmed that he's responsible for, have a Goldman Sachs connection. So did Hillary. Her father worked for him. So did Obama Tang. The law office he was with represented him. His firm, well, his trust fund has their stuff financed by Goldman Sachs. His daddy worked with him a lot. His stepdaddy. So, I mean, yeah, is there any connection? Geithner, Treasury Secretary, was chief consultant for Goldman Sachs.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, one of
the bailout bill, no, not the bailout bill, economic incentive plan, $781 billion, the single largest budgetary item in the history of the United States, and the primary beneficiary was Goldman Sachs. The Bush administration was responsible for the $700 billion bailout bill, of which the principal beneficiary was Goldman Sachs. What's going on here? Cruz, the Republican Party runner-up for president, his wife worked for Goldman Sachs. And by the way, why the hell is Cruz considered as for president? He's ineligible. Constitution says he has to be born on American soil, unless he was one of the ones who were citizens of the 13 colonies in the Revolution, but that's been 240 years ago, 250. So was he part of that? No. 240 years ago. 245. But anyway, he was born in Canada. He's a citizen, but you can't be born in Canada. You have to be born in the territorial United States, a territory, a protectorate, a naval base, a military base, a consulate, or an embassy. And he was born in Canada. He wasn't eligible. That's what all that birthgate was about Obama Tang, too. And I don't show him any respect. He didn't even have the decency to respect his constituents by using their last names. When he just made it in 2008, there was a town hall meeting in Stone Mountain, Georgia. And this old lady stood up. I can't remember her actual name, but she said, "My name is Mary Wilkins. I'm so 90-some years old, and I never thought I'd see a black man as president in my life." And instead of calling her Mrs. Wilkins, this bastard said, "Mary," and her face just dropped. If her president had called her Mrs., that would have made her whole life. And everybody'd been calling her Mary her whole life, and that bastard called her by her first name.
Well, Judge,
You call me Mr. President. No, your ass is Barry, because you don't even respect your constituents enough to call them by their last names.
I had a problem earlier. I had actually dropped out or something, but you're glad you kept talking.
I can't hear you, brother. You're breaking up. This has been going on. This is twice today. But
can you hear me?
I mean, when I was a judge, you want to get your ass locked up, you call somebody by their first name in my courtroom.
Okay. Well, let me ask you a question. What do they call you?
I always use the last name.
What do they call
Miss
you?
Holly and Miss Holly. That was a joke between us, and that was in the South. It goes, the most important person, male in the county, is Mr. Bob, or his wife, Ms. Roberta. And then the second most was Mr. Williams, and then the second most, the other side, was Mrs. Williams. And then it went down to first and last name, Mr. or Mrs. And then it went down to last name with no Mr., last name with no Ms. And then it went down to first name, and then hey boy, hey you, hey girl. See, so
let me I gotta block this troll in my chat, man. He's daggone.
Miss Sonia, we joked about that. Sonia Matahano or Holly Evans. See, it's like a protocol.
Yeah, I had some guy in the chat, Judge.
He just insulted black folks so bad. He didn't give us a damn thing. I mean, couldn't he have at least come up with a token?
Yeah.
He didn't deliver a damn thing. He didn't. It was nothing to give. It was paid for.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had to.
Your vote is coin. And when you deliver your vote, you pay for services by the elected official. You are buying good governance with your vote. And what we do is we habitually give it away. See, the LGBTQ is a cult. I'm not getting on gay folk. I'm getting on that cult. And they don't deal with, but they represent maybe 6% of the population. They can't get anything by themselves. But black folk have been bamboozled into supporting elected officials who don't give a damn about black folk, but owe everything to LGBTQ because they are in the closet with them. And you put the black bloc vote in with that 6%, and you have somewhere around 20%. Now, 20% leaves 80% not on your side, but when you understand that you're dividing it down to party lines, there's 50% basically each side, maybe more, maybe less, that go for that party. So 20%, 24% is a bloc, controls most elections. So they control the elections with the complicity of black folk. Well, Negroes. Because black folk don't give it away. They want a benefit for their votes. No benefit, no vote.
Okay.
So, I mean, la-di-da-di-dee.
Let me bring up something that you mentioned, because I had got knocked out of electrically or something happened earlier. So what you were saying, in Nevada, the turnout was 125%. And Pennsylvania is 109, Minnesota 107, North Carolina 106, which is actually amazing because actually Trump won.
How in the hell can 106% of the registered voters vote? That means there are votes, more votes than there are registered voters eligible to vote.
That's right.
It's numbers. Didn't anybody go to goddamn high school or hell, elementary school?
That's right. And Michigan 105, Arizona 101, 96% the other. Now I will say this, that in all honesty, they showed a chart on a program I was watching one day that actually the black voter participation actually had went down to 2006 levels, which means that daggone weren't that many black folk like we're thinking. About a good 25% so voted for Trump, and the other side voted for Biden. But with the white vote increasing for Trump and every other demographic increasing, and you had 16 Senate, I think almost 16 House seats, and
Yeah, okay. The
Senate seats,
Republicans gained House seats and kept their majority in the Senate.
so they wouldn't lose the presidency.
Okay, yeah, but listen, 102% of the voters voted. How in the hell do you get that? That means 2% more votes were turned in than there are eligible voters to vote. See, 100% means every single registered voter voted. That's what happened when you got 102%, 106, 109, 110%. That means you got more ballots than there were eligible voters to vote.
That's right. Now,
That's a con. God damn. Does anybody go to school these days?
Now, I want to ask you a couple of things before we go. What do you think about, like you were saying, the Democratic Party basically having the benefits? What are the 5 things you said where they are anti? I forgot. They're anti what? Anti-family and something else,
They're
right?
anti-family. They're anti-masculinity. They're anti-traditional womanhood. They are anti-children. What they do is they're trying to promote children as sexualized objects. That's not a
Okay.
list of 5, but it's just, I hadn't counted them. If you say they're 5, but they're against masculinity. They're against the family. They're against womanhood. They are against duty, honor, obligation, accountability, and responsibility. And they are they are pro sexual exploitation of children. Part of their big program is to get age removed as a factor in sexual consent. That's what that Equality Act is slanting to. My goodness. When in the hell did somebody's choice become a factor in establishing rights other than what you get under the First Amendment? They say they can't help what they are, sure. But now when they have sex, is it all rape like it is in a jailhouse? Tie the dude down and take the booty? No, it's not rape. If it's not rape, it's consensual. If it's consensual, that means it's voluntary, right?
Yep.
Okay. So if it's voluntary, it's a choice. So if it's a choice, it doesn't have any damn business becoming a protected class like race, color, creed, national origin, religion, or sex, or disability. You have no choice in those things. Religion is to an extent a choice, but because it is, if you don't go anywhere on Sunday, you can't go anywhere else for the rest of the week. These children are conditioned to that point, so they cannot do anything about their religious outlook when they get grown. That's what they're trying to do with all these drag queens talking to these children, so they can condition people just like mama did when she says you can't go anywhere the rest of the week if you don't go to church on Sunday. It's brainwashing.
Um. Yeah, you're right about that. Um. vaccine. But hold on one second. I'm reaching out this brother. What's this guy name? Okay. Yeah, I just want to but I wanted to bring this to you that when we have to, I want you to just talk about how we can get our, well, you can't tell us how to get our manhood back, but you can start with the principles of manhood.
Manhood you get back by developing a thing called courage and bravery. That requires conditioning from day one, and so many of us have it neglected. Now, you still have that predatory beast inside every grown man or male, I would say. It's our nature. We evolved to be a predator, the best in the planet's history. Save the polar bears, save the elephants, save the tigers, save the dogs. That's because we are the apex predator on the planet. I
Um,
even had a jackass trying to disagree with me, saying that we aren't apex predators because we have to hunt in packs. Give me a break. You know, and
and so,
I'm a hunter, so all of the animals I've killed all by myself, yeah, I had to have a pack to bring them down. That's what we have our fangs along because we make them. They're weapons. Now, that said, yeah, we have an innate ability to vest violence, but courage and bravery are matters of character. And if you want to be a man, you have to be about duty, honor, responsibility, accountability, dependability. You have to make where you are a better, safer, more secure place filled with economic prosperity, sense of purpose, morality, and ethics. You have to be men of public peace, dignity, and order who can be brave and courageous when necessary. The operative phrase is not be all you can be because you can be a goddamn fool. It's be what you ought to be. If you are a healthy man, you are very happy and very satisfied by doing what you're supposed to do because it gives you great pleasure in dealing with your responsibilities as a man. You don't look at life as I'm down and there's no daylight at the end of my tunnel. You look at that as an opportunity for heroics because you can take those people you're responsible for to the daylight or at least advance them closer to the light than they were before. It's your obligation, duty, and privilege to slay the fire breathing Gila monsters that are setting fire to that tunnel so the light at the end is obscured by smoke and flames. That's your job. Women and children in the lifeboat, and when you go down, the band is playing in your mind and you feel proud of what you did.
um, but
And the other thing is, to be a man, you realize a coward can die many deaths and a brave man only once.
yeah, well, let me say something to you. Like, when we look at this thing, we looking back at things, and I know you've been around for a while, so but what you seeing today is really not what you would have expected to see when you saw the '60s. I know you had a problem with the civil rights movement, so
Nah, I didn't go for civil rights. I was not a nonviolent person. Like my
okay,
old man used to say, raise your hand to me, you coming back without your arm.
you're right about that. Yeah, you well, let me say something about that. Now, of course, we had the late John Lewis that died. You weren't
That
too much.
was, well, anyway, that was, I won't even get into that.
Yeah. But I will say this, that I know now one thing about it. Like I said, the election is still up in the air, and nobody's really got 270. The media should not say projected because projection means that Negroes jump in the air like, oh my God, we got, oh yeah,
Well, that media is irresponsible because let's say that Trump winds up prevailing, you're going to have a lot of little ratchet vanilla cupcakes with chocolate sprinkles on top, real upset. They're going to try and take to the streets, but they aren't the ones that bought the guns. So it might be interesting. And of course, you got that jackass Biden saying the first thing he wants to do is outlaw online sales of ammunition. But today, that's the only damn way you can get the stuff. So what good is a gun if you don't have anything to shoot in it?
Yeah, you're right about that. That's right. And I would say one more thing about the gun, because, like, you're armed. I know you go shoot. I mean, a lot of people do. I mean, hey. So I don't like when these liberals act like, oh my God, we gotta
I
stop
don't
guns.
like the term liberal. They're not liberal. They're fascist. They are
Okay.
kumbaya fascists and Nazis. They want to sissify the country, and they're going about it the same way the fascists and the Nazis did.
Okay.
They're not liberals. They are fascisti, Nazis. Nazi is it's a German acronym that stands for the National German Workers, no, the National German Socialist Workers Party. National German Socialist Workers Party.
Okay.
That's what Nazi stands for.
Now, let me say something to you, because I got a friend of mine that she okay, hold on. I ask you a question, Dana, in a second. Um Dana's in the chat. But the woman, matter of fact, let me ask a question now, before I get to it. I asked you about this guy named David Dinkins, who was the mayor, first black mayor, I think, died. What do you think about David Dinkins?
Mayor of where?
I think it was New York. David Dinkins.
Oh, okay.
What do you think about him? He was a don't know much about him. Okay.
No, I know about him now that you refresh my recollection. What do you mean? What do I think about him?
I mean, which Dana wants to know what you think about David Dinkins. Was he good? I guess
And what
bad.
about all of these black folk who were congressmen, U.S. senators, mayors, and governors during Reconstruction? What do you think about them?
Or Gavin is in the chat too. He said he was an
Yeah, but
opera.
what I'm saying is you don't know who they are. Why don't you know who they are? Because they did not achieve their objective. They were good foot soldiers. Dinkins was a good foot soldier. Harold Washington was a good foot soldier. Tom Bradley was a good foot soldier.
Okay, I understand. I understand where you're going.
But they did not win. Malcolm was unsuccessful. He got assassinated. King was unsuccessful. He got assassinated, but he was a pacifist. So that didn't do us any good. Arguably, he would have been a footnote if the FBI hadn't screwed up and decided to assassinate him, because he was more significant to the country as a dead martyr than a live agitator. At the time they killed him off, young black folk didn't have anything to do with him. He was way passe. He was talking about get down on your knees and pray until some redneck got tired of beating you across your head, and some more rednecks felt guilty about it.
Well, this is
That's
what
not the way to be a man. That's to be a slave. In other
this is what
words, it's like, don't whip the dogs. See, there's an untold story that too many don't know. For the first half of the 20th century, civil rights was achieved by the SPCA laws, Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. The theory was is if you couldn't do it to a dog, you couldn't do it to a Negro. Then you had organizations like the NAACP that were funded by the Jewish community and run by the Jewish community for at least half of the century. And the theory was if you couldn't do it to a dog, you couldn't do it to a Negro. If you couldn't do it to a Negro, you couldn't do it to a Jew. We've always been somebody's means to an end.
Now, let me ask you a question. I got a thing. I think Valerie Hall puts in Charlemagne the God, Obama the Black President. But I want to ask you a question. What do you think about this lady that Megan the Stallion and Cardi B? I mean, how you feel about them? You know, they
Slut.
get okay. Well, I just want to know how you feel
She's
about
an
them.
admitted street walking prostitute. So why in the hell does a street walking prostitute who admittedly drugged and robbed her cricks, how does she become a spokesperson for black propriety? I don't get it. I'd be highly insulted. Who the hell speaks for white folk who is a street walking prostitute?
Okay. Well, like I said, a lot of people not found the Candace Owens, but she put up a status called "Bring Back Manly Men," and they tried to go after her on Twitter about it.
Well, why the hell are you letting jackass punks dictate manhood and womanhood? They are irrelevant. Shut them out. Don't even dignify these cretins, these losers, by trying to respond to them directly. Just push manhood, womanhood, family, and children, and decency. Black people are not indecent pimps, drug dealers, and hoes.
Okay,
That's
now
not what we are about. We don't need to always be responsive to pimps, drug dealers, and hoes and trained monkeys.
well, let me
Now
say
you
something.
can be an athlete, not just you won't be a trained monkey if you stand up and you do something else. See, Jackie Robinson, first black in baseball, he didn't even play baseball. He played football and ran track. And Rosa Parks wasn't the first one to get in trouble for not moving to the back of the bus. 1943, at a place in Texas, Jackie Robinson refused to move to the back of the bus, and they overwhelmed him and arrested him. And he had his 45 out, live round in the chamber, hammer back. And according to the testimony at his court martial, some MF is going to die tonight besides me. He got acquitted, but he revoked this waiver that he had given because he had a football injury, and he was allowed to resign his commission as a captain in the U.S. Army. So he didn't know what to do. Some of his soldiers said, "Why don't you go down and go work with the Negro Leagues?" He said, "I don't know how to play baseball." He said, "But Captain, you're the fastest man in America. From base to base, you hold a 100-yard dash and a 220-yard dash. Yeah, you could play baseball because everybody backs up 15 feet when you get the bat. 15
Well,
yards anyway."
well, one
And
question.
then look what he did. Look what he did. Let's use him as a metaphor since everybody's into sports. The Dodgers haven't been taking a pennant in years. They are behind one game in the series. If they lose this one, it's all over again. It's the bottom of the ninth. It's 2 outs. The Dodgers are at bat. Jackie Robinson gets a base hit, gets on first base. The next batter is up. Robinson steals second base. Okay, he steals third base. The batter is up with 2 strikes and 3 balls on him is the count. 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth. Jackie Robinson steals home, for goodness sakes, and ties the game up. Goes into extra innings. Dodgers win. They go on and take the pennant. Everybody wanted more black baseball players because of Jackie Robinson being such a badass. Also, he didn't take any shit. Now, what
I
the
just
hell did Obama do? Did he steal home second base? No. Did he steal third? No. Did he steal home? Hell no. That ass got in there and got one of the most pitiful, pathetic, and lackadaisical performances I've ever seen. Now, some people love him because they've never seen another president. When he got in, they weren't but 12, 14 years old. They didn't know what the hell a president was supposed to be about. That's all they saw. But that was one sorry, underperforming jackass. It was an embarrassment. He's the first one that looks the part to get in the door. Did he play Jackie Robinson? Hell no, he played punk.
Well, let me say something to you, Judge. I wanted to bring up something that I forgot to tell you. You were going about statements and quotes, and I had a friend of mine the other day. She got put in Facebook jail for 30 days, but she said if you tell a lie long enough, loud enough, you can get anyone to believe it. And she put Hitler in there, and they blocked him for 30 days.
That's a quote from Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi minister of propaganda. He said it often. And I'll give you a lie that he told, and everybody believes it now. Kamala Harris and her family are what is known in anthropology as Indo-Aryans, the same Aryan alleged supermen, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, that founded the German people. Her people, the Aryans, did found Germany, but they were paper bag brown with dark hair, and they didn't have blonde hair. They didn't have blue eyes, but Adolf's boys told that lie so long and so often that everybody, even to this day, 80 years later, thinks Aryans are blonde haired, blue eyed. No, they're paper bag brown, dark hair, dark hair. They look just like Kamala Harris and her daddy.
Okay, now
And
let
by the
me.
way, the daddy wrote that his daughter was a liar and said, daddy called the daughter that, and he wrote these articles. He said he's not African. He is part Hindu, Tamil Brahmin, and Indo-Aryan, and part Irish. He's all Caucasian.
Okay.
He called his own daughter a liar and a fraud. Mayor Willie Brown of San Francisco, who got her all that money because she was giving up the booty to him, calls her a liar and a fraud. Now, maybe you could say he's a jilted lover, but daddy wasn't, and he calls her the same thing, a liar and a fraud. But you see, we think Aryans are blonde haired, blue eyed, rather than being paper bag brown with dark hair.
Well, let me ask you a
So
question.
she got put in not Twitter there, she got put in Facebook jail. But you see, you don't need to be dealing with Facebook anyway. I still get all of these law enforcement and criminal justice bulletins because I'm a retired criminal court judge. And guess what? Facebook is so deep in the back ass cheeks of law enforcement that they rely on them. So why are we dealing with Facebook in the first damn place when actually it is a way that law enforcement and intelligence agencies keep track of us?
You're right about that, sir. But let me say something else here. I gotta answer this question for this guy. He got a question for you in the chat. If Biden becomes president, what would it mean economically for Black America if Trump
Not
wins?
one damn thing, and it'd go right back to where you were. You weren't getting shit when the Obama tang slate was in office last time. Likely as not, you're not going to have Biden for very long. I think what's going to happen is Biden is going to pardon Obama for what may be a federal indictment coming out of some grand jury activity that started in February this year. You're going to get Biden resigning. You're going to get Kamala Harris pardoning him and his son. And Nancy Pelosi, by action of the 20th Amendment, will be vice president. 2 wenches from San Francisco. Disgusting.
Well, let me ask the other part of the question was if Trump wins, will Black America collectively hold Trump's feet to the fire for tangibles? I'm gonna answer that
What the
question
hell
first.
you think he's been delivering? See, goddamn it, we talk about white supremacy and we deep into CNN's ass, Crying Negro Network. That weak tea with some ground up booty from Van Jones, mixed up with some squeezed Don Lemon ass, mixed up with some sugar from squeezed Anderson Cooper to sweeten all that garbage up. And by the way, do you know who owns CNN?
I forget, but I think I
Do
do.
you know who owns Fox?
AT&T. No.
They own CNN too. So AT&T owns both of them. So what the hell do you think you're getting but a song and dance entertainment on modern historical fiction?
And AT&T wants to divest.
That's right. So they want to get rid of both of them. So you are listening to the same entity, and black folk get all of their information from CNN. The whole contest is norms versus queer.
but
They
look at
call themselves that. LGBTQ. Q stands for questioning and queer. BLM. What did they say in their mantra? You and I both know what it says because we went into it at great length before they took down what we believe. It says they are a queer affirming network. Queer. In England, LGBTQ says we're queering up the country. So it's norms versus queer. That's what this election was about. And black folk are so damn, Negroes are so damn stupid, they gave their votes away, not realizing that LGBTQ, the cult, needs them in order to get anywhere. And they know Negroes don't require any payback, so they don't have to give us a damn thing in return for putting them in so they can get everything they wanted. And what did Biden tell everybody? Said, niggas, wait your ass. We ain't got shit for you now. We may find something to do, but for the first 100 days, our legislative priority is going to be LGBTQ.
well, yeah.
And we're going to get rid of your guns. And Kamala Harris is talking about a mandatory buyback for ARs, that's Armalite, M4 clones, and Biden's talking about making them illegal. There ain't anything else out there worth owning. Why the hell do you want to? Armalite stuff is 68 years old. That's how old ARs are. 68 years ago, they were patented in 1952. The U.S. government has been issuing them since 1958. Now, for damn sake, what the hell do you want? 170-year-old bolt action, 150-year-old lever action, 140-year-old pump? Why the hell we got to have antiques and archaic shit that are basically museum exhibits when everybody else in the world has got some serious artillery? And we don't have any assault rifles because to be an assault rifle, it's got to be a machine gun. And you can't walk in some place contrary to these lying asses and buy one.
Okay.
That's bullshit. Now,
Well,
but of course, we love our bullshit, don't we? We're so off into that, we got to be stuck in front of the TV 24/7.
well, let me say one thing. I know Rupert Murdoch was running Fox in the New York Post, but I think Rupert Murdoch might have got a little bit, upset
He's
when.
retired.
Yeah, well, he might have been a little bit upset.
I used to date his personal lobbyist.
Okay.
One fine sister out of Mississippi.
Well,
and
now,
Rupert Murdoch ain't what you think he is. He's about people who do stuff. He's a labor man. His daddy was from the World War I era in England, and his daddy was a labor man. So was Rupert Murdoch. He likes labor. You, the American public, thinks he's a hyper conservative. He's not.
okay.
So his personal lobbyist was this beautiful sister who I used to date, who was Miss America, Miss Washington, D.C. for the Miss America contest and was first runner-up.
Well,
and she also was lobbyist for the Las Vegas Casino Owners Association. So they got a different agenda than you get pushed out there.
Well, I got one thing to say, Judge. One more thing. What's the lady name? Anderson King. Mm-hmm. She posted something on Instagram, and she says that she said, "Listen, I thought that the DMs were gonna speak to Ice Cube after the election. What happened, right? Interesting."
Huh? Ice Cube just acted like a man. They can't deal with that. See, this is what's going on too. All of these handkerchief-head Negroes. And I say handkerchief head, that's what we used to call them because they had processed hair. And they'd wear these do-rags around their head, just like the girls do, with them tied in the front, looking very sissified. That's like Al Sharpton was James Brown stuff, and he kept his hair fried like James Brown did. And you see it. Why in the devil would he be sporting something out of the early modern history ring of the Smithsonian Institution on his head? For goodness sakes, Malcolm said it well. A processed head equals a processed mind. That's what you got. You see, so what in the devil are we doing listening to processed heads?
Yeah, well, I will say this, Judge. Well, look, like I
Bayard Rustin.
the
Bayard Rustin. Let's get back to John Lewis. I feel like I'll expose him right now. Bayard Rustin used to deal with John Lewis. John Lewis was known as Bayard Rustin's teenage stuff. What did Bayard Rustin do? Well, my old man told me one time when I asked him, well, Dad, what do you mean when you guys are doing this? You know what that means. He said, well, you're too young to know. Well, it was early 1962 or 1, something like that. And I was in the 9th grade, I think, maybe the 10th. And my old man dropped the second section of the LA Times on my in front of me. I was at the kitchen table doing homework. He said, look at this. And it said, Los Angeles Police Department arrested civil rights activist early this morning, Bayard Rustin. He was found in the back seat of a limo being sodomized by a white suspect while he was performing fellatio on another. He's getting it off the butt and giving head at the same time. And right now, the gay folk, LGBT folk in California, want the governor to posthumously pardon Bayard Rustin, who they're now trying to promote as father of civil rights, which he was not. He almost destroyed it. And I said, hell no, because they have all of these normal boys and girls, teenagers and young adults who got caught in the back seat of a car, got charged with the same thing he did, essentially open and notorious public lewdness. When are you going to pardon them? So why the hell does he get a free pass? And that was the name of civil rights. See, they don't want to tell you about that. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Just like LGBTQ, BLM. Black Lives Matter, Black Lesbian Mania.
well, look, a
I
guy.
don't mind. They do well politically. It's their right. But when they start doing politics and they impact me and my grandchildren, the hell with that.
Well, let me ask you a question. Well, actually, a guy has a question for you. What's the difference between a liberal and a conservative?
Great deal.
Oh, he said, what's the difference?
I'll tell you. It depends on what society you're talking about. 1,000 years ago, liberal versus conservative was not the same. 100 years ago, 50 years ago, a liberal was somebody that supported the Bill of Rights, and a conservative was somebody that thought they went too far. Nowadays, it's flipped around. We don't really have liberals. We have socialist, queered up folk who have adopted the mechanisms of fascism. Now, what used to be conservatives, they are for what some might call family values and conservatively concerned about the Bill of Rights. The roles have flipped.
Okay. Well,
It's a difference.
somebody.
In other words, conservatism usually, in most places, refers to a conservative economic market or model. In other words, certain fundamental things done economically that would promote, in this case, what's called free enterprise. The liberal thing was more towards socialism. So remember what I said about Nazi being the German acronym for the German Socialist Workers Party, but we associate the Nazis with conservatism and fascism. That's appropriate. But you take socialism and you put it in the mix, and today Liberal has become associated with socialism. Liberal is also something of a pejorative these days, depending upon who says it. It used to be, see, liberal arts, liberal thought, which in other words, you studied everything. You tried to be a Renaissance man. You tried to deal with logic, reason, and rationality, whereas a conservative was overwrought into this principle thing that was based on basically status quo. You've had changes. And if it seems confusing, yes, it is. And media counts on that, so they want to confuse you. There is nothing that can clear up the confusion. Basically, just say right now the conservative side is more into family, masculinity, femininity as versus feminism, the sanctity of children, and into education, into logic, rationality, reason, analysis, skepticism, those kind of things. The liberal side has jumped into being more closely aligned with emotionalism, reaction, unthought out, spasmed responses that have to deal with everybody ought to be feeling fine. Nobody should have any obligations. Nobody should have any duties. It's all what they want rather than what they ought. See, that difference is complicated. Look it up. You can
I got
find some quick definitions. You got a cell phone if you're listening to this. So just Google the word conservatism, liberalism, and
okay.
you'll see some classic definitions.
I got two more questions because guys, everybody asking questions tonight, man. The one guy wants to know, didn't Barack Obama actually this guy actually calls on your show sometimes, actually, Mr. McClure, but he wants to know, didn't Barack Obama give Big Al Rustin an award? And there's another guy, we on Lock Nation.
They called Barack Obama all through college. His nickname was Bathhouse Barry. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gave Bayard Rustin an award. I know my father and all his homeboys who fought in World War I, World War II, and Korea couldn't stand Bayard Rustin. They called him a punk. And they called John Lewis his teenage butt buddy punk.
Well, and the other guy says, can a single person like himself create his own laws for African Americans?
No.
Okay.
The bottom line is, you see, we live in societies. We have for the last 250,000 years. It ain't nothing new. Whether you lived in a cave clan or whether you lived in a larger tribe, it was all about order, rules. Humanity sought rules. They wanted predictability because the environment in which we lived was unpredictable enough. We had standards that you raised children to deal with. We had rites of passage that were demonstrations that you had the physical courage and bravery and the mental intelligence and the acumen to become a man of the tribe. The women had theirs too. And that was good because that qualified you for being a man or a woman, or it failed you. If you failed, there was no point in wasting food, resources, time, and attention to try and give you instruction since you were not worthy of it.
Well, look, I got one more question for you. Yeah, everybody has a question tonight, Judge. What is your advice for storing ammo?
Keep it at room temperature.
Okay.
Get a lot of it. I would say, I'd hazard, you need at least a few hundred rounds of double-aught buckshot. If you don't have a rifle, you should have acquired a Mossberg 500 or 590 with some sort of rifle sight so you can shoot slugs. You should have an M4 carbine. That's an AR. That's a clone. It's not going to be fully auto. but you should have a couple of thousand rounds for that, and you should have a 9mm or a bigger pistol, and you should have 1,000 rounds of that you don't touch. And you should practice regularly, particularly with the pistol. Skill with a pistol carries over into the rifle and transfers a little bit into shotgunning. You should try to figure out how to lead a target with a shotgun or do what they call a swing through lead. Rifles, you aim, squeeze, and it's much easier to hit with a rifle than a pistol.
Okay. Now, I know we been on for a while. I want you, like I said, I'm always glad when you stop running away, man. You're a busy guy. Everybody want to talk to you, man. You got a lot of knowledge and wisdom, Judge. So people need to be able to reach out to you. So go ahead and shout out your information, brother.
Okay, you can get me on Twitter at Judge Joe Brown TV, and I do not have a damn blue check. On Friday, you can get my show, and that's with Valerie Denise Jones, great young sister. She's working on her grad degree. And brothers, get yourselves in college and get your education together. You don't have to be college educated, but it sure as hell makes it a lot easier to get your stuff together. And on Friday, you can get at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can get at call in 929 477 1167. 629 477 1167. And you can listen to what we do, and it will be syndicated later in the week.
Okay.
Now,
And
ladies, if you want to get in the mood, watch me on Bounce TV. They have my reruns, and you can see how fine I used to be. And you can fantasize when you listen to me on Friday. I might say something sweet for the ladies.
Well, I will say this, Judge. Yeah, your show is always good to listen to, and I actually like coming on there talking with you. I'm gonna let you go, but I got one more person to ask a question. This guy been in the chat all night. He said, "Judge, I am raising 3 young boys. I display good morals and values with all the corruption in our government. I show them and encourage them to be politicians. Does anyone else do the same?"
Yeah.
Okay.
By the way, let me say something. Although the press won't let you know, 32 states mandate corporal punishment being okay for children, as long as you don't hurt them, permanent injury or disfiguration. Okay. A lot of folk think you can't spank kids, but in 32 states, that's the majority of the 50, you can.
Well, that's good to know.
So check your state law under corporal punishment, Google it, and see if you can get away with it.
Okay, well, Judge, I know you.
But let's put it this way. See, children are like puppies. A well-trained puppy becomes a great dog, and they're a pleasure to have around. They're like people when they're well-trained. They're orderly, they have decorum, they have dignity. If you don't train the puppy, they become unruly dogs. They bark, they try to get all over everybody, they get out of line, you can't control them. Children are people puppies, and when you don't train your people puppy, they don't make good adult humans.
Well, I will say this.
And Mother Nature will kick them dead in the ass if they get too far out of line.
Well, let me say this to you, Judge. We always have pleasure. Glad I was able to meet you in Memphis. We had a good time at the restaurant. So
that was an interesting restaurant down there near Beale Street on Main. That used to be the pits. It was rotten and decayed, and they've been giving white people a lot of money to rehabilitate the city. But in Memphis, only 19.1% of the registered voters are white. And in the county, it's only 28.2%. But when you were down there, you saw everything was white. That's because the Negroes, who were the majority on the city council and the majority on the county commission, don't give a damn thing to black folk. See, right down the street, the Orpheum,
Yeah.
the city gave them $28 million to rehabilitate it. Ain't nobody black in it. Peabody Place, $64 million. Ain't nobody black involved in that. They got a thing right down the street from where we were. They're supposed to be putting in a new movie theater. They're getting ready to ante up 46 some million dollars for that. Nobody black in it. And all they got to do is give the city 4% of the revenue, net revenue, not gross, 4% of the net,
Well,
and $1 a year. See, but they
well,
won't do that for anybody black.
well, that's the problem we got with the black politicians. We got to get
Beale
legal
Street,
money.
the city owns Beale Street, but they lease out the properties. The primary lease is $250 a month, but the leaseholders lease the stuff out for anywhere from $5,000 to $30,000 a month. And the leases with the city have gone to a month-to-month tenancy 30 years ago. So why in the hell doesn't the city exercise eminent domain? Take these leases over, make it a requirement that you actually run a club, and instead of getting only $250 a property, since these people do not have the properties in fee simple absolute, they are only leaseholders and they sublease it. Why don't you collect $2,500 a property from each person who's operating a club and make it a requirement to hold the lease? You have to actively operate a club. That way, there's more revenue to the city, the county, and black folk can get in it. They had a guy named Royal Johnson that used to have Club Royale down at the end of Beale Street. That was the place to be. It was hot. It was upstairs, downstairs. The food was good. The DJing was great. The crowds were great. Blacks hung out in there, but the city administration let the white folk run him out of business. By the way, it got kind of funny. He had a beautiful wife named Marjorie who had been married to his first cousin, then to him. When the city put him out of business, Marjorie left him, and now one of our more prominent black folk is married to her. Can you guess who?
Nah, I don't know. You know,
He's on a game show.
when the last time I watched a game show? Is it Michael Strand?
No.
Uh,
He also did some stuff for Publishers Warehouse. You know, that event that they claim somebody wins, but nobody's ever found a winner.
I can't
What's
think
his
of the
name?
guy.
Steve?
Steve Harvey?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how he got his wife. When her second husband got run out of business by the white folk after having a big.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Hey, they really jigging tonight, ain't they? Hey, look, guys, I don't know, man. I done had a problem with the small heads tonight, too. Keep on daggone jigging me off, man. Censorship is real today. Hold on for a minute. Damn. This man that got knocked off. Wow. I don't know, man. Judge got knocked off. So I don't know. This is kind of weird. Um, they really jigging tonight with this stuff. Come back in. I turned the thing back on. So good. No, I said he got cut off. Oh. Mm-hmm. God damn it, man. Okay. There you are.
Wow, that was
Yeah,
deep.
man.
Wasn't that
I guess
deep?
you got knocked out, man. I guess you got knocked out, man, for a minute there.
I can't hear you too well over here.
Can you
Can
hear
you
me now?
hear me?
I can hear you.
See, anytime, this is what I'm talking about. This is highly suspect.
Yeah, you know how it is, man. It's censorship, man. But it's okay. That's that time. We still getting the word
Can
out.
you hear
So
me okay?
I can hear you.
All I can hear is static with you when you're trying to talk. When you say something, it's just clicking sounds, you know.
Can you hear me
When
now?
you, yeah.
Okay. Well, look. They try and jig around.
Now you came back on. I can hear you.
Yeah, you already know what it is, what time it is. Censorship is real, so don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But that's okay because I want to mention one thing. Right now, um, Fox News and CNN are getting competition from Newsmax and other independent media sites. So really, the news networks are losing their popularity, and independent content creators doing better.
Well,
So
they really aren't news networks. They're
okay,
entertainment networks, and they do the equivalent of historical fiction, except it's just happening. See, CNN started back in the 1980s. They almost went bankrupt, and then they had the Gulf War. Now they became very well relevant because there was a war going on 24/7. There was a great time lapse between the Middle East and here. And they had hookups that had fallen into place so you could see a cruise missile going past the eighth floor hotel room in downtown Baghdad and make a sharp right bank turn at the end of the block on the way to blow up a facility. And you could see all of this in the skyline. So when the Gulf War was over, basically they didn't have enough news to fill 24/7, and you had stuff like, Larry, what are we looking at? Well, Tommy, it looks like a burning cabin. Yeah, Larry, that's what it looks like. It's smoldering. It seems they put the fire out. Yeah, Larry, that's what it looks like. They put the fire out. Well, what do you think happened in there, Al? I don't know. Larry, what do you think? Well, maybe somebody was in there. I don't know. Do we have any details? Well, not yet, but we don't really know anything. But Alan, what do you think happened? Well, maybe the police chased somebody in there. Like, God damn, we're all looking at the same thing you're doing, and you're just being a talking head. This actually happened. There was a smoldering cabin. It turned out some LAPD cop went crazy, and some of his buddies were trying to help him get revenge. And it would have made a nice movie, but all they were doing is speculating. So they went over into entertainment. So now they have Don Lemon Butt, and they've got Anderson Cooper Sugar Butt, and now they've got Van Jones Tea Leaves, and you got that weak CNN crying Negro Network and that fool Van Jones. Oh, we so happy that Master Biden won and beat that mean old man from New York. Oh my God, we so happy.
well,
Only thing I've seen more embarrassing was when this jackass Darden was crying because Johnny Cochran whipped his ass along with Marsha Clark in that OJ trial. Oh, that's too God. Oh my God. I said, oh, please, please. This will go down forever in the hall of Negro shame. If they ever set up like they got the basketball Hall of Fame, football Hall of Fame, baseball, they'll have a Negro Hall of Fame and Hall of Shame. Like click, click, click. What are you doing? Taking your picture? Yeah, I'm taking your picture. Why are you taking my picture? For the Hall of Shame, fool. you know.
well, Judge, I
Crying
gotta
Negro Network.
I gotta say one thing, man. Tonight been a pleasure, man. To give your piece to the people, you know how you always do. I say black power, you say power to the people. Doesn't really matter, but
That's the same. Yeah, it's the
black
same thing.
power.
Look, you got to do stuff. Like, see what this says? This says Underwater Explorers Association. It's some black folk down in the Caribbean that run this. And we do exploration places and caves and tunnels underwater. See, it's like, when are black folk gonna get into this in America?
That's right.
I
Well,
asked somebody, man, what you talking about water? Black folk don't get in the water. I said, fool, you go down into the Caribbean, every damn dive boat you get on is captained by a black man. The crew is black, and the guy that's leading you on the dive is black. I'm a master diver. I can do that too. What the hell's wrong with you thinking that black folk don't get in the water?
well,
Because is your ass scared down there? They got sharks, whole bunch of them. I embarrassed somebody into getting in the water because the photographer was a 18-year-old sister who was on summer vacation from college earning money. And she's down there with the sharks every day. I ain't getting in there with them. The man ain't gonna be fish food, man. Ain't nobody. It's a fool. I ain't going, man. We on the name. I ain't, you all go down there. And I said, sister, I know you, what you do. She said, I'm the photographer. What you mean, a photographer? Well, brother, man, when you go on the shark dive, I be the one be taking the pictures of you. Yeah, I be down there with the sharks. Now, man, ain't you ashamed, homeboy? That young girl got the balls to go down there and you scared of it? I'm gonna
well,
shame you, because if you don't go on this, I'm gonna tell everybody I know that this young 18-year-old sister put your dumb ass to shame.
well, I want you to give a shout out to the men and a shout out to the women. You
All
know,
right. It's about power to the people. Men should give guidance. Women should be given advisement. If you are a woman and you're trying to advise, you're a fool if you can't bring yourself to do it. If you're a guy who's giving guidance and you can't listen to advisement, you're a fool for not doing so. Get yourself prepared, get your head together, get your body together, get your skill set together. Start being a man, because a coward dies many times and a man's only going to die once. You don't have long in this life. And when you're where I am, looking back on where you are was just day after yesterday. So, day before, the day after, and a couple of weeks on top of that, and you're through. So you got to deal with what kind of mark are you going to leave as a man or as a woman, so somebody will remember you later on. That's all you do. What kind of mark do you make on the world while you're here?
well, we thank you for coming in tonight and breaking it down as usual, man. Like I say, one thing about you, you speak your mind and you speak your piece, and that's all I want. I don't even care if everybody don't agree, but keep it real.
And go dive with the sharks sometimes in your mind and in life. See how many balls you got. Two, or do you have none?
well, thanks for coming by tonight, Judge.
All right, I'm out of here, young brother. I got things to do.
All
Ciao.
right, you too, brother.